but you have to love yourself. And what I mean by that, what happened in my journey when I fell in love with me again. I love Simon T. Bailey.
Mm.
And I don't say that from an arrogant standpoint, but I love who I am. I love who I am becoming. And here's what I discovered. When I learned how to love me, I was able to love my son who's 20, my daughter who's 17.
Mhm.
And now because I love myself, I can tell them it's not about things. It's not about material things. It's about how am I showing up emotionally available to you because I'm emotionally available to me.
Welcome to Balance Boldly, the podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm Nikita Thigpen, your host and balance and relationship advisor, partnering with you to change the narrative so we can amplify the intimacy within and across your relationships, and you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work life and love. We are back in season 16, everyone. I told you guys for the last few weeks, I have been bubbling on the inside, waiting to introduce so many of these phenomenal experts to you, especially for this topic. You know, freedom and fury. I think we can all agree that that goes in line with how you feel when you think about balancing your love life and your career life. There is freedom to the bliss and the intimacy and the joy of it. And there can also be some fury with it, especially when it's showing up in your work life intensively or interrupting your potential passion and purpose, right? So today I have to welcome and honor and be thankful for all of the amazingness that is about to show up right now. This man I have been professionally stalking since a mutual friend aligned us many months ago because he is so incredible. And I'm excited as always to bring you everyone, but especially another brave man in this case, right? Simon T. Bailey. Oh, this amazing man. He's a leader, not only of the great work that he does in the world, but a leader of the Spark movement. He has a movement, people, because that's what he's about. His purpose is to ignite sustainable transformation in people, individuals, systems, and nations. Simon understands the pressures that leaders and high performers like us are facing in the midst of uncertainty and equips them with simple, easy to implement strategies to accelerate their results. LinkedIn Learning features him in all of his courses across 100 countries because Simon has 30 plus years of experience in the hospitality industry, including serving as sales director for Disney Institute, and has worked with more than 1,800 organizations across 47 countries. Simon's been named one of the top 25 people who will help you reach your business and life goals, not just by me, but by Success Magazine, joining a list that includes many of the famous people that we know and love: Brene Brown, Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey. His Goalcast video, which is one of my favorites, was released on Facebook and has over 87 million views worldwide. Do you understand why I'm so excited? Welcome, Simon, to Balance Boldly.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I've been professionally stalking you, and I am very excited that you accepted my invitation. Oh, I was looking forward to this conversation with you for so long because you are a transformation expert and a leader. But before we jump all the way into that, I would love for you to share a little bit more about the Spark movement.
So, the Spark movement is really based on when you lose your voice, you lose your joy. When you lose your joy, you lose your freedom. And when you lose your freedom, you're stuck on a bridge to nowhere.
Mm.
But when you find your freedom, you find your joy. And when you find your joy, you find your voice. Then you find your people because you find the people that can take you to a place that you've never been before because there is something that they pull out of you that has been waiting to emerge. So, Spark is all about how do I find the thing that I've been brought to earth to deliver?
Mm-hmm. Mm. I love that. So, how? do you work with a lot of the men and women in the world that you've been honored to have the opportunity to share time and space with? How do you help them understand that spark isn't something that's going to fall out of the sky, right? Like they have
Yeah,
to tap into
yeah,
it with, I want to say without getting too personal, but how you can't really do that, right? Like you got to be able to have people step into their vulnerability. But how do you help them with that process when so many of us are introverted and, we're good at what we're good at, but we're not necessarily good at communicating that we need help in this area in the first place?
yeah. I think Spark really starts with honoring where you are in your journey. And when
Mm-hmm.
I say honoring where you are in your journey, I went through a divorce a few years ago after being married for 25 years. And if the truth be told, I lost my spark, I lost my edge, I lost my juice.
Mm-hmm.
And my attorney suggested that I go and see a therapist. And no alpha male wants to go and sit on a sofa with a therapist named Anita, who's been practicing for 40 years and has more degrees than a thermometer, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the moment she looks at you, she just looks at you with that look in her eyes, like bless this little heart, right? So so she told me, I done researched you. I know who you are, but she said you will never go to the next level unless you begin to deal with your unfinished business. And as she began to dig deep, she said, you got some mama issues. And
Mm-hmm.
until you deal with your mama issues, you will take those mama issues into your next relationship and you will never fully become the professional that you were meant to be. So what I realized I had to honor where I was at that moment and I had to deal with my unfinished business. And so when I'm inviting people to really think about it, if you're going to get your spark back, you got to honor where you are and do the work.
Yeah. 1,000% agree. And as a clinician, I love Anita already, and I don't know her.
But you have to understand, men, we do not talk, and let alone sit on a sofa with a woman and
Mm-hmm.
answer the deeper questions. That's not how we roll, especially black people. Black people
Yes.
don't go to see a therapist, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to deal with that in my own house. I'm like, you married to a therapist. How are you going to say you don't believe in therapy? Okay. Listen. No, I mean that was real and professionally I understand exactly what she meant because the roots of those scripts that we have buried within us do affect us in our adult life, our professional life, our wealth life and everywhere else. So because you were able to be open enough to allow her in to do the surgery that needed to be done, right? Like you had to be a willing participant in that, and you came to that space. You're standing in front of rooms of thousands and thousands and thousands of people at times, and I know sometimes you do some of the more intimate work as well with smaller groups, but when you're standing in front of the rooms with so many people who haven't done the work, but they obviously showed up for you because they probably were professionally stalking you too, just like I was,
Hmm.
um, and were impressed by your outcome, the space that you're in now, but they're still scared to admit to the Anitas of the world and even to themselves that they have that. Is there something that you share with them either through your personal journey or a book or a video or something that you give them as kind of the feeder, like here's the first step, people, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Here's something really simple that everyone listening to us can do. Take out a sheet of paper, grab your smartphone, set it to 30 seconds, and on that sheet of paper, write down everything that's right about you. And the reason I say what's right about you, because so many times we focus on what's wrong with us, and
Mm-hmm.
the world mirrors back to us all of our flaws. And I'll be the first to tell you, I, I'm a man full of flaws. I am perfectly imperfect. I have failed more times than I can count on both hands. But when I go through the exercise of what is right about me, it's inviting me to tell myself the story of who I really am on the road to becoming better. So I don't get it right all the time. But what telling yourself is right allows you to upgrade your verbal software. And it allows you to delete from the mind drive and the hard drives those stories and scripts that might be negative in nature and replace it with some new software that allows you to say, wait a minute, this is who I really am. So let me say it to you a different way. Something happened in life, but then you built an entire story around what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So setting to just 30 seconds to say I'm going to write down everything that's right about me now invites me to step into a new possibility to say, so how am I going to create a new story?
I love every level of that. It's very familiar for me for multiple levels, but we do a lot of mirror work and mirror techniques with a lot of the coaching clients and advising clients I have. And that's what I'm going to borrow from you, by the way. So I'm just letting you know right now. I'm taking that. Thank you for adding to my professional toolkit. Uh, but it's so simple, although not always easy, right? Like it's the simplest thing. 30 seconds, set your timer, go to work. You can be in your car. You can stop being on the treadmill for a second just to take that 30 seconds and upgrade your verbal software to use your words, which I love the way you frame that, because so many of us are so unkind to ourselves on a regular basis. And that adds to why we have challenges attracting the better career, the better lover, the better life, right? When we're so
Absolutely.
unkind to ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I would tee up is on the road to finding your spark again, and this is going to seem so oversimplified, and I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence that's
Mm-hmm.
listening to us, but you have to love yourself. And what I mean by that, what happened in my journey when I fell in love with me again, I love Simon T. Bailey.
Mm.
And I don't say that from an arrogant standpoint, but I love who I am. I love who I am becoming. And here's what I discovered. When I learned how to love me, I was able to love my son who's 20, my daughter who's 17, because I was able to show up for them and really have a real conversation instead of trying to pose and hide and floss.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because I love myself, I can tell them it's not about things. It's not about material things. It's about how am I showing up emotionally available to you because I'm emotionally available to me. And I don't lose my man card. That doesn't mean I'm less masculine. If anything, it means I'm emotionally connected and congruent from the inside out because I love who I am and I love who I'm becoming.
Absolutely. And if I was a real cursing woman, I would have said a lot of words right there to high five you. Yes. Yes, because I mean that is tapping into the masculinity, is knowing that your strength is your meekness and knowing when to keep it under control and when to say and when to not say something and be able to have that emotionally intelligent dialect with everyone that you care about, including your little people, which matters a lot. I love that you said love you. I believe in it. I call it being selfish. Like get a little bit selfish, take care of you, fill your cup up, deal with your inner child issues, heal your own trauma, like do the work. It doesn't mean you can't simultaneously do some work in the world, because that is part of the healing process, is giving to grow, but make sure that you're filling up your own cup so that when you pour out to the 20 and 17-year-old, in my case mine's are 23 and 19, like when you're pouring out to these babies or your lovers or a new potential, a partner, a new client, you're not doing it out of regret because you're so empty and exhausted by everyone else, and you're not letting the desperate vampires get attached to you, because you know that happens a lot when we
Oh,
haven't,
totally.
right, when we haven't loved ourselves. We are so susceptible to letting people that we would have never let in had we been fully guarded and filled up get close to us, and then we do, and then we're sitting there with a sad story of how in the world did I get taken to the bank emotionally, or financially from those people. Wow. Wow. Yeah, listen, you're about to make me say a couple words that shouldn't be coming out my mouth right now. So I'm, I'm serious. So I'm curious, Simon, for you, with all the work you do in the world, and a lot of the transformation work obviously pours and takes a lot from you, and you're dealing with other people's energy, right? Like they're coming off of their own conflict and communication issues. Are you able to protect your team, your inner circle, with some kind of boundary that you can share with other people to help them know, like, yes, you can be a giver and you can do all those great things in the world, but you can still protect your time and your space, you know?
So my team blocks a lot of things that they don't even tell me about. As you can imagine, they do, and thank goodness for them. But then when people have rolled up on me, and perhaps I wasn't as protective of my boundaries, I address it very quickly because I don't want to get down the path and recognize sometimes you can have a 50 by 60 dream, but you have people that have 8 by 10 thinking that literally suck you dry.
Mm.
And so, what you then have to begin to do is redirect them and release them into their destiny. Because that doesn't make them a bad person. That just means they're not your person.
Right.
And really reestablishing those boundaries to really understand. I had somebody roll up on me not too long ago and said, um, "Do you need a friend or a sister?" And I said, "Well, please define, friend or sister. Well, a sister in the Lord." I said, "Oh, a sister in the Lord." And then I said, "Okay, what kind of friend are you talking about?" Because when it comes to friend with benefits or friend without benefits, whoever you attach yourself to, you invite yourself into everybody else that they are connected to.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't need a friend. I just need a sister and somebody who is doing their work in their journey. And I said, that's all I can give you. That's all that I have the bandwidth now because I am still healing. Anita, my therapist, she told me, she said, after 42 years of doing therapy, she said, Simon, you need to wait at least a minimum of 2 years before you get remarried. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, I was married for 25 years. And she said, that would be the problem right there. She said, 75% of men who've been married for as long as you have, 75% of them get divorced if they get remarried under 2 years because they have not healed. They have not come to a place of wholeness. So they will attract any and everything and get married again and end up divorced because they didn't want to be alone. And then they kind of wake up and say, Rutro, what just happened here? And it could have been totally avoided if they just would have come to a place of wholeness. So what I recognize is that a half a man going into a half a relationship does not make a whole relationship.
Yeah.
So that man has got to be totally whole. That woman has got to be totally whole to say, okay, when we come together, we are 100% whole in our own right. And there is something that I have to give to you. And there's something that I can pull out of you and you can pull out of me because the woman carries a womb. And when a man connects with a woman who understands who he is at the core, he can pull out of her womb and she can pull out of everything in him that will create a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. See, why are you trying to make me act like I belong to the cussing church? And I don't belong to the cussing church. But you make me want to curse. That's hilarious. I'm like, my husband's gonna listen to this. Like, why do you want to curse so much? I'm like, I don't know. It was Simon's fault. I don't know what was happening. But you're correct because I say something. My husband and I have been together since we were 17 and married since 22. So we,
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. We've been in the trenches a long time. Mm-hmm.
That's like 1,000 years in dog years.
In dog years. I know, right? I know, especially since the new research says they're not even times 7 or times 16 now or something for the dog years. I know it's crazy. And a lot of the strife that we had in the earlier part of our relationship is because I wasn't whole. My husband had his own stuff, but I had a lot of unhealed trauma. And, obviously we literally grew up together. We've been friends since 13. So we really grew up together truly, but we had to grow as individuals before I could look to him to be my spiritual lead, right? Like to be anything else for me. I had to understand what was going on with me. And as he did himself, he had his own mommy and daddy issues, right? And I had that plus unhealed trauma. And until I did my own therapy with my 3+ years and all of that, and it didn't matter, all of the degrees and all that kind of stuff, none of that mattered until I did the work. And found, to use your earlier words, to really find my own spark or to create my own spark. And that was pivotal for me to make sure that we could grow together into a happy relationship because we were whole separately. And that was hard for me to understand because we almost got divorced a few times in the middle of that. And each one of those times would have been well deserving, right? Like it would have been for the better for both of us. if I had not agreed to allow him to love me, because that was one of my challenges, I was just like, what? I do everything I need to do for myself by my, Meanwhile, he's like, but I'm your soulmate. So what's happening here? Do you want me? Do you not want me? Because there's plenty other women out here looking at this fine mocha man walking around, and you pushing me away every 2 seconds because you don't want to do the work. So I had to do the work as he did his. And to your point, being whole together allows us to now have a blissfully happy relationship, which when we hit a hard spot, that hard spot is more of a rough pebble than it is a big boulder nightmare that's catastrophically, creating an earthquake within our relationship. And you're so dead on so many levels. And I say that professionally as a relationship expert and also as a woman who went through exactly what you're talking about.
Wow.
Wow. Telling all my business. Thank you for that, Simon. This is supposed to not be about me being on your couch, but that's a conversation for another time. So how do you give yourself permission to pause, to take care of all great, loving Simon T. Bailey?
You know what? I have found that taking a digital vacation is a really good thing. I'm a big movie buff, so I will go to the movies, get a bucket of popcorn, kick up my feet, laugh out loud, don't care who's in the theater, because it's just my sense of release. From time to time, I will have a spa day and I'll go enjoy the spa, or I'll go and play golf. I'll do something to get out of being in the same type of environment. And what a lot of people don't know, I'm really a socialized introvert. I love being a loner and my alone time and just being to myself. And I can walk into a room and people don't even have to know that I'm there, because when you become comfortable in your own skin, you don't have a need to constantly make yourself known. Because what I've discovered is that the real power is in quietness. It's not in saying, look at what I'm doing, look at who I know, look at what I wear, look at what I'm drive. That is so shallow and that has no depth. The real power is in the silence of being comfortable in your own skin and not having to impress people or even ask people what they do, because who you are is bigger than what you do. But sometimes the conversation never gets past the title on a business card because you're trying to size people up and compartmentalize them into making them fit into a box, and you never get to the human being because you see them as a human doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes. Can you hear me snapping my fingers? Oh my God. Look, the editor's going to be really bad at the snapping fingers in the background. But listen, you are 1,000% correct. I agree with that on so many levels, and I concur. I think the power is in knowing that you have all the right cards and you can pick and choose when it's time to play them. And it should be to play them for the betterment of the overall group of whatever it is that you're trying to do, with the impact that you're creating. And I love that you are so comfortable showing up and knowing that the showing out is in how you strategically move within that space, and not necessarily coming and making a whole bunch of noise just because you can.
Right. People that have a need to tell you how wonderful they are, that is for their benefit, not your benefit. Because if you are who you say you are, then I will know just by how you show up.
1,000%. Oh, I love this so much. And I already love you. So while you're loving you, I love you too. You can add me to the list of people who love Simon, because I just love your honesty. And more than
it's a process. It just didn't happen overnight. It's been a journey to get to this place.
And more than being authentic, you're transparent.
Oh, totally.
Which I appreciate on so many levels. So how can people contact you to find more about you have so many great things we didn't even touch on, books and courses and programs and all kinds of things, but how do they find out more about what you do?
Yeah, they can go to simontbailey.com and everything is there, and they can find us on social media as Simon T. Bailey.
You guys better go. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say is it will be worth your time, your energy, and your space to check them out, to follow, professionally stalk, highlight the quote of professionally stalk. I don't want nobody saying, well, Nikita said it was okay to stalk Simon. Like, oh, Lord. You have been such an honored guest. I love that you showed up fully and gave so much enlightenment to creating the freedom that you need by finding that spark and allowing your voice to be heard, by literally tapping into what's going on with you and being able to honor the healing space and what needs to be done there. I appreciate you sharing that, truly.
Thank you. Thank you. I just honor the work that you're doing in the world and that you will allow me to be on your platform. So grateful.
Oh, I love that. Was so cute. I love that you said aloud. Like how many emails I sent your team, Simon? Stop telling me she allowed. You're making me feel so big inside.
Listen. I'm just a simple guy that grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I'm just grateful for any opportunity that comes my way. As my mother would say, you never forget where you come from.
That's right. And thank you for making room for me, because I'm honored. This was awesome. You are what I would call a royal, and royals, it to me is an acronym. The ROYAL. It's a regal opportunity for you to lift up other people. Like literally, that's what it is. And you take that royalness very seriously, because you do see it as an opportunity to help other people. And I appreciate that our listeners get to benefit from that, because 4,000 people a month roughly that are listening to this, downloading, jogging, car riding, whatever it is that they're doing. And we're small, but we're mighty. And we definitely appreciate when people show up as you have, in full transparency, not being afraid to pull back the curtain and say, listen, I am a brave, masculine, amazing man who has also had to do the work and will continue to do the work, because I have great things left in me to pour out.
Yes.
You are awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Balance Boldly listeners. Was that not exciting? Like, don't we want to have him for like 2 more hours, and we could just like carve out 2 more hours with him? He is so phenomenal. Make sure that you go to simontbailey.com. Obviously, as usual, all of the information you need will be in the base of the show notes everywhere that you are able to listen to this podcast. Please make sure that you share this particular episode. And also, if you like what you hear in general on the Balance Boldly for Ambitious Women in Business and a Few Brave Men podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and share it, so we can help ensure that other ambitiously bold and brave people out there have access to this valuable life, love, and business balance tool. Because that's what it is. It is a free tool that we want everyone who can get access to, because it's important. If you want to connect with me, obviously, I'm Ask Nikita on everywhere, IG, Twitter, and all of the places. But in the interim of this week and next week for another phenomenal episode, I want you to go create your balance and create your joy. But remember, do it boldly. Thank you for listening.